I, a 25-year-old female, have been seeing my now boyfriend, who we'll call Joe, for about 6 months now. We made it official 3 months into dating, so I would like to say he's only officially been my boyfriend for 3 months. My best friend, whom we'll call Anne, is getting married next month. I'm one of her bridesmaids. It's a small destination wedding with only about 40 close friends and family. The bridal party is set to arrive about 4 days before the actual wedding to do bachelorette stuff. The issue came up yesterday morning when my boyfriend started asking what time my flight was for the wedding week. I didn't think much of it and told him. About 10 minutes later, he came back and said he'd have to go on a different flight because he couldn't find one on the exact airline or at the same time. I didn't understand why he was looking at flights. I asked him if he was planning on going on a solo or guy trip while I was gone since I wouldn't be around. He looked confused and then said he was looking for flights for the wedding. I then proceeded to tell him, trying to be as gentle as possible, that I wasn't planning on a +1 and that the guest list was already finalized. He has only ever met Anne over FaceTime since she lives in a different state from us. After telling him, he exploded at me. Honestly, it was a total 180 from his usual behavior. He said it was insensitive of me not to ask for a +1 because we'd been together for so long now, that I was purposefully excluding him and trying to keep him a secret. He ranted and talked in a circle, and I just sat there in shock. What snapped me out of the daze was when he insinuated that I would likely cheat with one of the groomsmen. That's when I got up, got my stuff, and started walking out of his place. He freaked out even more and said we needed to talk about this, and I couldn't walk out on him. He tried to grab me twice, but I shoved him off. Since last night, I have yet to speak to him. He's been blowing up my phone with calls and texts that I don't reply to. I even put him on Do Not Disturb because it was so annoying. I was solid in believing I wasn't TA, but one of his best friends got my number and texted me that I was being petty and a female dog about everything. That led Joe on for 6 months. I have yet to talk to anyone about this since I wanted to cool down before I got a second opinion. But now that his friend is texting me, I think I might have handled it all poorly. I know I need space right now, but I don't want to ghost Joe, which his friend implied I'm doing now. So I've come here to get some unbiased opinions. Fellow Redditors, I asked you now if I am the asshole for not having my boyfriend be a +1 to my best friend's wedding. So on Friday, I texted Joe asking to meet on Saturday morning to discuss everything. This morning, he tried to get us to meet at my place, but instead, I got him to agree to meet at a local cafe. A lot of you brought up how he tried to grab me, and that's a big sign that he could get more physical in the future. I didn't want anything to be left to chance. He got there early and tried to hug me, which I didn't allow. I got the ick at the thought of him hugging me. We did a bit of small talk, but got to the point once we sat down. He apologized for blowing up, but in the same breath, said I shouldn't have left. I countered that he shouldn't have tried to physically stop me from leaving twice. He asked what else he was supposed to do. That set the tone for the whole conversation. He went on to say that my just walking away was a clear indication that I didn't respect him. I then pointed out that he was not letting me explain why he wasn't invited. This is when we started talking in circles. I told him how the wedding was being planned long before we met. How by the time we mutually agreed to be exclusive, they had everything finalized, especially the guest list. He said I should have asked Anne to change it anyway. I asked him if I ever gave him the impression he'd be attending. He was silent for a while and then admitted that he just assumed that since he was now my boyfriend, I would have told Anne to invite me. I told him then, wouldn't I have said something if he had asked in the past 3 months? I realized that we weren't getting anywhere. I told him I wanted to break up. To paraphrase, I said something along the lines of, I understand you were hurt that I didn't invite you. I'm sorry that we didn't have a clearer conversation about it sooner. I wish that we had a calmer conversation about this. However, I don't feel safe in this relationship because of how you reacted. This relationship isn't good for either of us if you feel betrayed and I feel unsafe. He didn't take that well. Joe's response was that if we broke up, I wouldn't get my stuff back. I told him I didn't care, because honestly, if he wants to keep some of my underwear and use toothbrush, okay. I then asked him not to have his friends text me either. He went from pleading to have another chance to accusing me of never wanting him. I just stood up, told him I wished him the best, and left. When I got home, I ended up going for a 2-hour run because I still felt stressed. I blocked his number and his friends, blocked his Instagram, and deleted the pictures of us on my feed. I changed my Facebook status to single. I had a cry and have been watching Netflix since. Something I learned from this is that your first fight with your partner tells you everything about them. Our first fight told me Joe was explosive. Maybe if he hadn't blown up, we would still be together. I'm not going to dwell on it, though. I know it's good I got out while you can because, as a lot of you pointed out, the fact he kept trying to overpower me twice says a lot. I'm honestly glad I broke it off. As some of you said, it took him 6 months to show his true colors. I can't imagine if he did come. And then a year later I find out he's like this and have to look at wedding photos with a guy who is fine blowing up. I'm going to stay single for a while now. I have a wedding to look forward to. My focus is on supporting Anne and making sure she has the best wedding ever. I may update you guys when the wedding happens to let you guys know how it goes and if Joe tried anything else. Thank you again to everyone for their opinions.